Who are the Romans? To clarify. Who are the Romans? Are they Greek? No. Are they Etruscans? Are they Celtic tribes? Romans are an aggregation of Latin tribes. So that's what we call the area in red nowadays Latium. So which is the place of the Latin, or where people speak Latin. Latin, as you may know, which is the root of all the Latin languages: French, Italian, Portuguese, Romanian, English, Portuguese, Spanish, etc., etc. So Latin, there are Latin tribes, which are located where? Right in between the Greeks in the south and the Etruscan in the north. So Etruscan, no? Doesn't ring any bell? Etruscan civilization? No. Okay. Doesn't matter. It's on. We didn't talk much about the Etruscan. Etruscan is another civilization that developed in the north of Italy, which itself is mostly inspired and connected to Greece as well. So he developed his own standards in terms of art or architecture, but based on Greek standards. And the Etruscan are a population that came from Anatolia, probably during the Bronze Age, migrated to North Italy, spoke a non-Indo-European language, but were Greek connected in terms of art and architecture. So the Latin tribes were rising and developing at that time, 8th century BC, are surrounded by two civilizations, the Greeks and the Etruscan, and of course will inspire themselves greatly by them. The Roman won't invent anything new, they would just reproduce what the Greek and Etruscan do. They will become dominant militarily, they will develop and take over those places. They will take over the Greeks in the south, they will take over the Etruscan, they will take over all the tribes around and Latinize those areas. People will start speaking Latin, apart from the south of Italy, that will remain Greek for a long time still, but the rest of Italy will be Latinized. That's to make an extremely short, history of the Roman development. If you want to have more details, come to next semester class about emergence of civilization. We will talk about the Roman civilization emergence. Of course, this is too short, but we just telling you the basic information. But if you want to know more, come to another class. Now, what is important for us with the Roman Empire is what's going on with Greece. And remember, Roman Empire started expanding as soon as the 7th century BC. But it will first expand within nowadays Italy, and so south and north, even towards North Africa. It will reach what is nowadays Greece around the 3rd century BC, with first the domination of Epirus, and slowly through the Macedonian War will take over Greece. If you need to remember one thing, is that Greece become Roman, dominantly Roman, part of the Roman Empire, in 146 BC. And this date is important because it's the date of the destruction of Corinth, total destruction, that will mark the beginning of the end of Greece, as we know it, until then. So, Greece entered the Roman world. And remember also the ambiguity. Even though Greece at this date is now integrated into this Roman Empire, the rest of the world is still Hellenistic. Anatolia, Egypt are still part of the Hellenistic dynasties. You know, the Hellenistic world is not finished. It's still alive. Until 31 BC. 31 BC, well, Egypt will be conquered as well by the Romans, and everything else, actually, Anatolia as well. Most of the Hellenistic world will be part now of the Roman world. So some said the Greece actually fall completely to the Romans on 31 BC, which is true for the Hellenistic world. But for Greece itself, you can remember this date, 146, we start to talk about Romans. With a bit of ambiguity always. So when you look at a temple, you look at a city, sometimes, you know, you have to say Hellenistic / Roman. Because, you know, transitions are not like that clear, even though we use the date 146 BC as the change. But, you know, for 1 century, between 150 to 50 BC, it's Hellenistic / Roman. Things are not like changing radically. You know, it's a transitional war. And another thing that you need to remember, which is extremely important at the time, well, yes, we'll mention after. Well, remember, even though Greece fell for the Romans, do the Greeks start speaking Latin in 146 BC? No. Okay? Remember that, that's important for the continuation of history. Greece will never, even though under Roman domination, Greece and the rest of the Hellenized world will never switch to Latin. You know, they will remain Greek speakers. But the big difference, there is one, is the settlement patterns will change radically. We switch from a world where, in a Greek Hellenized world, from the classical period, where we have a lot of small and middle-sized cities, so a dense occupied territory, which means no super cities, no big cities, but small to middle-range cities everywhere. And at the classical period and the beginning of the Hellenistic period, we have 80% of people, Greek people, living in cities, and 20% everywhere else. For the Roman world, you have to reverse that. In the Roman world, 20% of the population live in cities, 80% in the rest, which means the countryside. So we're switching into a countryside logic in the Roman world. And the 20% living in cities don't live in small or middle cities, they live in big cities. And this logic and this pattern, this settlement pattern, will more or less remain until today. This way of organizing space. If you visit Europe nowadays, we are as well now in this logic, this Roman logic. Cities, well, even though the concentration of population in cities are rising, but you have mega cities and most of the people living in the countryside. This is changing with modern world, but until recently it was the case in most of Europe. So remember, 20% of the population in urban places, big cities such as Nicolas, Corinth, and remember Corinth, even though it was destroyed in 146, becomes colony, a Roman colony in 44 BC. And, whoops, where is it? I didn't, I think I should have, I should have underlined this. I think it's in the exam. Corinth is the new capital. So look at the map. Look at the map. Corinth is the new capital of a Roman province, which is Achaia. Greece is divided. Macedonia as a new capital, Thessaloniki, Epirus, Achaia, and Asia. You know, those four provinces, Roman provinces, are what used to be the core of Greece. You know, divided in four. The main capital of those places becomes Corinth, not Athens, not Athens, not Thessaloniki. You know, Thessaloniki is the capital of Macedonia. Sorry, but Achaia is now the new capital is Corinth. Is a completely new colony, built from scratch. So here in Corinth we have population who are not only Greek. It's a colony. So that means Roman, Latin-speaking people will move here. So it's the exception, not the rule. Corinth will majority speak Latin. Its population speak Latin. It's a colony. The rest of Achaia or Macedonia and East Asia, people speak Greek. Okay? So even though those people will speak Latin, of course, after a few centuries, everybody will switch back to Greek. Huh? So no such a thing as Latin that will remain in the area. What about Athens? Athens continue existing. Athens is not destroyed, it's not burned, is not, even though attacked, even though under siege a few times, many times revolting against the Romans. But Athens won't be ever destroyed or dismantled like Corinth. So Athens will continue its existence. Athens, as I mentioned in the class, has a very high symbolic status, because Romans knew about Athens through writings, philosophy. As you might know and remember, the gods of the Romans are a copy-paste of the Greek gods and Etruscan as well. So, of course, they recognize themselves in them, and they consider Greece to be the heart, the core, the origin of civilization already at that time. So, of course, there is a form of respect, and Athens is a good example. It kept its aura, and which explains a lot of investment in Athens as a symbolic place, even though not a capital anymore. It will has a lot of construction which are related to different, as you remember, sponsor, and we'll see later which one is the main one. But many construction will be done, especially embellishment, making the city look better, look bigger, look more prestigious, especially culturally. That's one building you need to remember that is built during the Roman period, the Odeon of Agrippa. Odeon. If you go to the movie theater, many movie theaters are actually called Odeon nowadays, written like this, more or less. Just, it's a theater, but it's a Roman theater. As you can see, this one is covered. It's not massive. It's only 5,000 people, I think, can get in. But what you don't even need to remember that. Just remember his name, Odeon of Agrippa. Remember it's Roman. Remember the order. What is this? You see it better over there? Corinthian. No? The leaves, no? Corinthian, and when you see those columns, which are actually not columns but pilaster, they are like flat, they are not round, but they are like straight with 90-degree angles. That's pilaster. Pilaster, it's only Hellenistic or Roman. There is no pilaster used before. So when you see these type of things with the Corinthian stuff on top, most of the time it's Roman. That's something you should recognize. And that's typical, so they are actually imitation of columns. They're not columns. They're just like something put on the wall, look like a column. It's an imitation of a column. It's not supporting anything. Okay? It's just on the wall. It's a pilaster. Another iconic monument, this one is ambiguous. So when I'm asking you the period on the exam, I put periods. Periods. So at least two. This one you should put it's Hellenistic/Roman, because we're not sure about the datation actually. So when I'm asking you the period, you have to say Hellenistic/Roman, because it's between those dates, we don't know. It could be 1 the other. And again, it's ambiguous during the period. You need to remember another thing, its function. What is it? The function of this thing? When? So fundamentally, it's a meteorological station. Meteorological station. Something to predict the weather. Okay, I'm gonna try it in Chinese. Okay, down. Okay, 视线，气象站。这是拼音。Okay, make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's considered the first meteorological station in the world. Okay. So especially wind and many other things. Measuring of time as well with a water system inside. Towers of wind. So remember the name. It's also known as the Orologion of Andronikos. Orologion is you might recognize the root of horloge, which is actually means watch. So in this term, in Greek, it means the place to measure time. So it's not only for weather, but it's also to measure the time. They had a clock inside, water-based, based on water movement. Okay, Tower of the Wind. This one is important as well. Temple of Ares, God of War. Again, that's a Roman god. And this one is tricky. You remember why it's tricky? It's in the middle of the diagonal. It's just in front of the Odeon. And what is this style? What is this order? Doric. So you might think, whoa, what is going on here? Roman time? A Doric temple? Doesn't work. Something wrong here. So, what's the explanation? Why a Doric temple? Doric thing. What could explain the fact that we have a Doric temple built by the Romans?
I remember Romans like to copy all style. Like,
Yes.
especially classical.
Yes, but then you fall into the trap. That's the trap.
Or they want to worship the Zeus over
There's a trap here. Yes, the Romans were copying everything. In this case, they didn't copy, they transferred the temple. So they moved the temple, which was a Doric temple from the 5th century. They moved it from the Attica region, they moved it here, and they dedicated it to a new god. They changed the god, they take the temple, put it here, and said, new god now.
So what is the previous god?
Athena, I think, if I remember well. Athena, yes.
So the original is Athena. And how about the latest one?
Ares, gods of war, the Romans. No, it's not, that's not a Greek god. So they take a Roman temple, they move it. Okay? Careful. Tricky. Okay?
Is the transferring the temple have some meaning? Like
It's cheap. It's just cheap. You don't have to build it. You just have to steal it in minutes. Probably cheaper to steal it than build a new one. So it's convenient. And remember, the Romans are changing the settlement patterns. So the Attica was densely populated with small and middle range cities everywhere. With the Romans, those Attica, those older regions which normally you could see little cities everywhere. So when you have a city, you have a temple, because there is a lot of worshippers. Now with the Romans, many of those areas are empty. just farmers. There is no more small cities or average cities or middle range cities. So the temples that used to be used by those small or average city or middle cities, nobody used them anymore. No? So you have a lot of temples abandoned in Attica and in other regions. So it's convenient. Empty. Nobody uses the temple anymore because the population now is living in big cities. So, it's the most natural thing to do. And let's transfer it. Okay, important one. Important place in Athens, which will become and remain the center of commercial activities for centuries, is the Roman Agora. So the Roman built a new agora, the Roman Agora, and this is just the entrance. Try to remember the architecture, how it looks, because in this case, what is the order? Doric. And it's called the gate of Athena Archaeology. Okay? That's something you need to remember. Is the gate of Athena Archaeology, and this gate is built by the Romans. So this is extremely rare. It's willingly that they build with a Doric style, because this gate is facing the old Greek agora. So it's some sort of dialogue with the past. This side is Doric, facing the Greek agora, and the other side, Ionic. So they play with references, they play depending where they are in space, but the gate will be built with the Doric style, which is extremely rare, but with a Latin, or Greek or Latin? Greek is, no, it's always Greek. An inscription thanking the emperors, the Roman emperors, will allow the construction of this. But I can't remember, but I think it must be Greek. So it's Caesar and Augustus who are the one that dedicated it. So it's written here, but I cannot remember if it's Latin or Greek. But Athens should be Greek. We'll see when we're there. I'll double check later. That's not important. Huh? Try to remember the style, the period, the name of it, and the exact term that you should remember is classicizing. Classicizing, which means it's Doric, but the Romans they do not build in Doric style anymore. That's just like something from the very far away past. So classicizing Doric in the sense that they're imitating the Doric that was normally used centuries before, but it's not in fashion anymore. And the Romans don't use Doric. It's clear? Yeah? Classicizing Doric. Okay. Here I forgot to highlight it. Here, very important. Remember Athens as a city, so was culturally still important, even though politically, wealthy, military speaking, not important at all. But one of his best friends is the Emperor Adrian, even though others were also Philhellene. So Philhellene, try to remember this term, Philhellene, which was still used the term nowadays. Philos in France, Hellene, Greek. So the friend of Greek, literally. So the best friends of Greeks and the best friend of Athens was definitely the Emperor Adrian. Remember that. Adrian is the one that invested the most in Athens re-embellishment, and making Athens still a center of culture. Adrian. We'll focus on a few buildings that Adrian built. Try to remember this one. It's easy to remember. They are called by his name. Adrian's Arch. It looks more or less how it looks at the time. Not super easy to identify on a picture, but this is Corinthian. This is the style of the Roman period and is dominant. Corinthian pilasters, if you call it, you have both, is the Arch of Adrian. Okay? Marking the entrance of the new city, the Adrian city, and marking the exit of the old city of the Greeks. extremely important, the library of Hadrian. So he wants, as Alexandria, as many other places were cultural core, he wanted Athens to be a new cultural core, as it used to be. So he created the library of Hadrian, again with his name. So try to recognize it as it is rebuilt here. What we can see nowadays is that, just the entrance. We have a few part of the columns that were preserved because it was integrated into a church. It was preserved past through the centuries because it was used as a base for another construction. So this is how it might have looked like at the time. Library of Hadrian. Okay, good. Corinthian. Hadrian is the sponsor. Another extremely important building of the time that is dominant in the city nowadays, as I mentioned you, if we are successful, we'll go for a concert, is still functional, is the Odeon of Herodos, or Herodes Atticus. So I won't be too demanding on the names, don't forget the names vary, depending if you spell it in Greek or in Latin. This is the Latin spelling. In Greek you say Herodos. Herodos Atticus. Atticus, when you see US, it's always Latin. Okay, the use of the EU. In Greek, no. So O. So Odeon of Herodos Atticus is not an emperor, he's a millionaire, he's a Philhellene, he's from Marathon, he's a local, he's a Greek actually. He became a millionaire, became influential and close to the emperor, and he would invest massively, in Athens. He will build this one, and not only this one, he will also rebuild the stadium. That is extremely important, mostly for, not only for sport and leisure, but also for ceremonies. Remember the Panathinaike annual ceremony in Athens? The boat that it transported in the ceremony was stored here. So the stadium is part of an ensemble of activities that are related to the Panathinaike festival every year. He will rebuild it. Of course, it's mostly related to the time. Remember, Romans are obsessed with race, chariot race, boat race. So those stadiums are mostly for chariot race. Like in Byzantium later, chariot. Horses, you're not on the horse, chariot is the thing you're standing on with the wheels. You can see that on some movies sometimes, the global thing. So chariot race, sport as well, running, but it's chariot race, boat race, the most spectacular stadium, like the one in Rome. As I mentioned before, could be filled with water. So you put water, you can have a boat race as well. So the Romans were absolutely cuckoo. So he participated into the reconstruction in a new stadium, completely in marble. It was new as well. So Panathinaike Stadium, that's one of the most impressive buildings, sponsored by, again, Herodos Atticus. Okay. Alright. Corinthos. Okay. I mentioned it before, it was here. I was wondering why it was not highlighted anywhere. Remember, Corinthos was rebuilt in 44, and it is a colony of the Romans, and it is the only place where people see Latin. Okay? So its population is mostly Roman speaking Latin. And remember, it's the exception. It's clear? In Greece, Roman takeover, the population remained the same. They are Greek, they still speak Greek. But Corinthos become the capital of Achaia as a colony. A colony means people come from Rome, Roman world, and come and go live there. So they come with their language. So in Corinth, the inscription are in Latin, while the rest of Greece is in Greek. Make sense? No? No, it makes sense. Okay, tell me. They use Latin, yeah. 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 I mean Rome, the Roman Empire. But Italy, what is Italy nowadays? So they speak Latin. Yeah. The main dominant language is Latin. They move in Greece, they don't switch to Greek. So, but the rest of Greece, you won't see any Latin written anywhere. In Athens, Latin is not existent. Even though in the Library of Hadrian you will have some Latin, because the law will now apply everywhere in the Roman Empire is written in Latin. So Latin will be present, and especially spoken and used in the elite, and especially when it comes to law. The rest of the life and what's going on, it's everything in Greek, apart from Corinth. Okay? I mentioned that before as well, and it will become even more important during the Byzantine period, but it's becoming extremely important in the Roman period, or the beginning of the Roman period, is the network of roads. And I don't want you to remember any roads of the Roman Empire, apart from the one in Greece, and the main one, which is Via Egnatia, which connects actually nowadays the coast of Albania to Byzantium, passing through the north, connecting the Adriatic Sea from Italy to Greece, inland, to reach Byzantium. Byzantium, which will become what will be the name of Byzantium soon after? Byzantium is a Greek name of the future Byzantium is a Greek colony, and it will become, in the Byzantine period, it will become the main
city.
Yes, which is Constantinople. Yeah? Why the Byzantine period is called Byzantine period?
I thought it was because of the style.
Byzantium. Byzantium is the name of the Greek city. Byzantium is a Roman name, it's a Latin name actually. So for Byzantios, I don't know in Greek actually, what's the exact term? Byzantium is the Roman translation of the name of Greek in Greek. Mm-hmm. Byzantium is the colony at the time. Until Constantine, the Emperor Constantine, we'll see that later in the Byzantine period, will transfer the capital from Rome to Constantinople, which is Byzantium. Byzantium will become Constantinople. Okay? So here, it already exists, of course, during the Roman period, but Byzantium is just a small city like any others. It's just very nicely strategically located, but Byzantium has no much importance here than any other cities. But remember, Via Egnatia is an important one that will become extremely important later on. So we have many roads. Those roads are particularly well built to the point that we find them nowadays easily. If you go to Rome, they're still there. So as soon as you go around Rome, you see those via whatever, via Viana, via Tiburtina, and in Rome you'll be surprised, but we still use those names. So you take your road, you go on your car, and you see the signs using those names. Via Tiburtina, via Viana, the Appia. When I was a boy, I was always taking the Appia. So I remember that was the way home, the Appia. And we're taking the Appia, we're going to visit the Appia because that was on the way to where we're living. Okay? So this is still alive, those names are still used, it's not something completely from the past. Remember Via Egnatia. Ceramic, remember the Romans were particularly not interested by that. So that's the only thing I would like you to remember. it looks very much like the Hellenistic, you remember, style that we saw before. It's molded, same technique. It's industrial, produced like in numbers. It's very simple, always the same thing. And we call it terra sigillata. And it's red, it's not black this time. It's red, it's a bit shiny. That's for the fine one. Most of it is like this. I'm not even asking you about this because this is so simple that it's too confusing, you know, there's too much thing like that. So this is the fine one that is typical of the Roman period. You can call it terra sigillata. This is the generic name. So when you see that, terra sigillata, you can call it Roman Samian. So Roman Samian ware. This is a more specific name. Or Samian ware, Roman Samian ware. And this is the typical ceramic from the Roman period. Okay? So you will have to identify that in the exam. I won't ask you anything about the gods. I'll ask you about the process of Christianization, which is extremely important. Try to remember and understand, as I tried to explain to you before, the process of Christianization. You know, remember, first Christians are Jewish. The spread is first within the Jewish communities. Then it will be a spread within the Gentiles.
The left. The third. No. The third one. Third one. Gentiles. Non-Jew.
It should be red. I was looking for red. Yes, first within the Jewish community, second within the Gentiles, all around the Roman Empire. Gentiles who are non-Jew but God-fearer, which means they go to the synagogue. They are not Jewish, but they go to the synagogue, which means they are the individual in between. They don't go to the temples, they don't follow the old gods anymore, which means they believe in one God, but they are not Jew. So they go to synagogue, but they are not Jewish, but they are not pagans either. They're in between, which is the perfect target for the apostles, the missionaries, the ones that are preaching to become Christians. So first, Christian are just Jew, just like a sect, not just a branch of Jewish religion. But as soon as Gentile will start converting, will start being in contact with Christianism, they will find the perfect, transition to a new religion that will have a name, and which symbolically is always represented by the fish, the Christians. Okay? It's a slow process, but you need to understand the process. Okay? Remember also that Christianism was, most of the time, was up and down, was persecuted. You remember? You understand? Persecuted. People were killed or were chased for being Christians until that date, 313, which is the Edict of Milan, which is the official date when it becomes legal. So this is the beginning of the legal existence of Christianism, 313, and this is also the beginning of the spread, massive spread and massive Christianization of the entire empire. Okay? So this is important. It comes together with the Roman Empire, with its border. You can see on the map the spread of Christianism is within the empire, and again, beginning within the Jewish community, and after through the Gentiles. I forgot, and I really feel bad about this, but I forgot to put this in the exam. You need to remember that. I might find a way to add it, I'm sure. Ichthys. Every time you see the fish, exactly this shape, this kind of long fish, fish, which is still used today, as I mentioned before, look at the cars. People use the fish. There is a church just in between in front of the campus. Within this gate has the fish. The fish, which is written in Greek ichthys, which means fish. It's actually an acronym. It's the ichthys is the first letter of a sentence. As I remember before, Jesus Christus Theos Soter. Jesus Christ, Son of God, our Savior. So when you read ichthys, which means fish, it doesn't mean fish. It means Jesus Christ, Son of God, our Savior. So it's just an acronym, which is a shortcut. And funny enough, ichthys means fish in Greek. So to make it even more a shortcut and more symbolic, you just do that, and then you mean Jesus Christ, Son of God, our Savior. So the fish is nothing to do with Christianism, it's not like we have a fetish with the fish. It's just because it's written like this, it's an acronym of a sentence. Okay? It's important. It's still used today. Fish is still everywhere in the world, especially in the United States or United Kingdom, you'll see the fish everywhere. Okay? Clear? You understand better if you understand the source of this. It's from the beginning of the Roman Empire, and it's also a way to keep it secret, especially when it's persecuted. So the fish, you were talking about a Christian community. Okay. We're good. There is a bit less after Byzantium, still a lot, and then much less, so it should be fine. Byzantium. So all this, of course, is in continuity. It's not like there is clear cuts. All this continue. Remember that. Important. Roman Empire at its best, at its higher, as its bigger extent. This is the Roman Empire. It becomes unmanageable in terms of territories, distances. Even though the Roman network roads facilitate transport and communication, this is extremely massive to maintain such a thing for centuries and centuries. So of course, weaknesses start to appear. What will happen under the Emperor Constantius, Diocletian, which is the dominant emperor on the east part of the empire. He will divide it in four, with two main emperors and two co-emperors. So that's what we call the tetrarchy. Tetrarchs. Tetrarchy means archy, power, the power of the four. Tetra. The power of the four. If it's 5, it's a pentarchy. If it's 3, it's just a number in Greek. Those are just the power of the four. Okay? So the tetrarchy is the power of the four, which is actually the power of the 2 plus 2. So 2 emperors, 2 co-emperors. So it's 2 on top, 2 lower, dividing the space, dividing the empire in 4, to be able to manage it better. So this is important to remember because it's the beginning of the deletion, the fragmentation of the empire. So we are at the beginning of the 4th century AD. This is also exactly the moment of the officialization, legalization of Christianity. So we're in a changing world. Beginning of the end of this expansion of our empire, beginning of Christianization, beginning of fragmentation. This is important. Now, in parallel, the empire is getting weaker, and barbarians, hordes are pushing and starting to spread from Central Asia, from Eastern Europe, and everyone is pushing each other. So the Han, the Turks, all the Central Asia population, which are raiding towards east and towards west, are pushing other population towards Europe, and the result is massive invasions of population that for the first time feel, because they are especially the ones living in the borders, feel that the empire is weakened, is weaker than it used to be, less military protection are less, maintained. So slowly, you can feel probably the decay. And at one point, the decay is so advanced that population start coming in. And they will come in where? In the west. Western part of the empire. Which is much easier to access. Which is also the key. Passing through Central Europe, Eastern Europe, Central Europe toward the west, no big deal. No mountains, no major rivers, there is not much that stops you. So that's exactly what happens. West will be attacked, and they're attacked constantly. Different groups, Goth, Vandals, Franks, Saxon, name them, Ostrogoth, Visigoth, etc., etc. Will made a mess of the West, for sure. The empire won't collapse like this. The remains of the Roman Empire will remain here and there, making alliances with some of the invaders, resist a few decades, fall here, fall there, until the point of there is absolutely nothing left of the Western Roman Empire. The East resists. The East is protected mostly by the Balkans. Remember here we have a huge amount of mountains, which are even today impossible to pass through. It's extremely difficult. So of course this part is protected. This part is not touched much by those invasions. So the eastern part of the empire basically remained the same. And geography and culture will basically reach a point of understanding here. This line of division here will divide the west and the east of the empire, and also is more or less the line of division between Latin and Greek. Make sense? So what is left of the Roman Empire is the Greek-speaking area. And soon this, make sense? We are a Roman Empire that collapsed. East-west, west used to all speak Latin. It has been Latinized entirely. The Celtic tribes have been tempered. Everybody speaks Latin and Latin different dialects, that will become all the languages of today. The East, always Greek, always speaking Greek, never left the language. Greek is dominant, and it will continue, and soon it will become the Byzantine Empire. Byzantine, based on Byzantium. As you remember probably, Constantine, the Empire of Constantine, will transfer before the total fall of everything, the capital Rome, to Constantinople. The new Rome is Constantinople. Rome will fall later, in 1476, so it's a slow fall. It's not like it's falling immediately at the beginning of the 4th century. It will fall in the 5th century, so it's a process of a few centuries of collapse, but it will come. Constantinople will be transferred, will become the new capital during the reign of Constantine, and it will give his name to the capital. So Byzantium become Constantinople. The city name is from the emperor. The period, the Byzantine Empire, comes from the name of the previous Greek city, Byzantium. Okay? Okay. Remember that Greece is part of the Eastern Empire, and Greece never really collapsed. Greece is still wealthy. Greece is still going on with its normal life. Greece is still in continuity with classic Hellenistic time. Athens is still Athens, even though there is some episodes of invasion, some destructions, but most of what used to be Anatolia, Greece, are still the same. Those big cities, Ephesus, Miletus, Didyma, they're still there. Pergamon, they're still there. In the West, not the case, Things collapsed. The rebirth, which is important, it marks the real affirmation of the Byzantine Empire in its existence, is with Justinian. Justinian first, we must remember him. Justinian is the one, and paradoxically, he was born in the the western part of the, well, one is at the border, so right here. He was probably originally speaking Latin, and he's probably the last emperor that spoke Latin in the entire Roman history, or Roman Empire history. But he became the leader of Constantinople, of the Byzantine Empire, and will re-extend the borders toward west. So it's the first and last attempt of re-establishing the Roman Empire. He will be successful to a certain extent, which explains why you will see Byzantine architecture in the west, especially in Ravenna, Rome a little bit, Aquileia, Carenta, in Napoli, in many cities, but especially Ravenna, as the capital of the Byzantine Italy. You will see Byzantine typical architecture. Okay? So this is called the Renovatio Imperii. So try to remember this term, Renovatio Imperii. You will have a question about it for sure, and try to remember what it means. What does it mean, by the way? What's the term in English? Can you see the root? Renovatio. Renovation. At the end, in English, you have renovation. Okay? Renovatio, it's a renewal, renovation. Imperii. Imperio is plural. The renovation of the empires. Or renovation of the empire. That's what it means. Remember, I mentioned it before, so no need to explain further, but languages, look at the map, remember the map? Latin world, Greek world. You see the Greek, or the purple area? This purple area was the same and will remain the same until last century. The purple Greek areas will be the same for another 1,000 years. Okay? Greek will continue. Latin, the opposite, will disappear. There's nobody that speaks Latin anymore, but speak the dialect of a fragmented, decaying language. So the High Latin, spoken by the Romans, disappeared because of the fall of the empire, which means fall of education, fall of recording system, fall of everything that made civilization. So people just spoke what we call vulgaris Latin, the vulgar, not in a pejorative way, but vulgar in the sense basic and not sophisticated. Spanish, French, etc. Okay? If you want to understand also the history of Europe, the history of the Western world, those are the roots, of all these changes, which explain what we are today. I won't ask you anything about the first schism, but you need to remember and understand the big, great schism. For the exam, but also for your culture and for your understanding of Christianity. Remember the great schism of the 11th century, which is the key to understand the world of today. Nowadays in Europe, but look at the map, look at the remains of the Byzantine Empire, the Western Europe, and the division, which is more or less the same as, that's 11th century, okay? Western Byzantine period, we are in the late Byzantine period, but since the 4th century, when the East and West Roman Empire separate, the line is still the same. Greek speakers, Latin speakers, and the Germanic, and all the invasion, of course, on top, of Catholics, Orthodox. Catholics, Orthodox. It's clear? You remember and understand that? No need to understand in depth the reason of the separation. Remember, it's based on discussion of the nature of Christ most of the time. One says Christ is a human, just like sent by God. Others said no, Jesus is God, the representation of God Himself. So those debates are the source of the separation most of the time. Of course, which involve also rituals differences, So if you go to Orthodox Church or Catholic Church, you will see differences. Those differences, increased since the separation. Until the 11th century, things were more or less the same. After that, the separation accelerated. Okay, so remember the schism of the 11th century between Catholics and Orthodox. Okay? Try to understand as well that since then, since the 11th century, there is of course the Byzantine Empire, who speak Greek. Don't forget, there is also Slavic population that start flowing in between the 5th and the 10th century. So now, this area, everything north of the Balkans, it is now Slavic. Slavic people, population, speaking Slavic languages, Indo-European languages, and converted to Christian Orthodoxy. So since the 11th century, this is the map of religion in Europe. This is stable until today. Okay? Those borders, those lines are more or less the same. Okay. Remember, the weakening of the Byzantine Empire will happen with two events. The Crusaders invasion, 1203, 1204. This is the big push. This is the beginning of the end, let's say. So that's the sack of Constantinople by the Crusaders. And the final push, of course, is the fall of Constantinople taken by the Turks. So the two main events that marks the beginning of the end and the end are the Crusader sack and the final taking of Constantinople by the Turks, 1453. Now, the capital of the Byzantine Empire is Constantinople, since the Emperor Constantine moved it from Rome. Remember, it's not for nothing that is chosen. It is a strategic place, strategic position, located just between at the encounter between Asia and Europe, and between the Mediterranean Sea and the Black Sea. So it's really at a perfect crossroad of all the worlds. So it makes sense that it becomes that important during the Byzantine Empire. Remember that. Remember, its population reached 300,000 people, which is for the period massive. As I mentioned before, for a normal human, that was probably extremely impressive to see such a city that didn't exist anywhere else. So remember these numbers. Try to identify a few places that are iconic of Constantinople. Those will be your pictures in the exam. The walls, I hope you remember those walls. They are the fortification of Constantinople. Their function, of course, is defensive, with three wall defensive system at the function. The name is the fortification of the land walls, up to you, of Theodosius II. The walls are well known to have been built, conceived by the Emperor Theodosius II. Function, triple defense. They were untaken until the Crusaders passed through on the 13th century. So they stand for almost 1,000 years. That's another representation. If there is another place to remember, here there's two things to remember. The hippodrome. It was built by Constantine, Emperor Constantine. It was the heart of the city for almost 1,000 years. That's important to remember. So it's sponsored by the Emperor Constantine. It's of course for chariot race, and whatever race they wanted to organize. Try to remember as well that the period is ambiguous. Here it's Hellenistic, Roman/Byzantine. When it's built, it's Constantine that built it in 330, was still in the Roman Empire technically. The real switch happened around 395, but this is also ambiguous depending where we are in the empire. So if you want to date it, you can say Roman/Byzantine. It was built within the Roman Empire, it was mostly used within the Byzantine Empire. But those things are the same if you want. It's just big Roman Empire, Eastern Roman Empire. So it's, if you say Roman, it's okay. You can say Romanism / Byzantine, it's okay as well. Another thing I would like to remember, we discussed it before, and this one I want you to explain me in an example. What is it? The serpent column. That's what you can see in Istanbul nowadays. That's the original piece. Well, actually, no, it's the copy of the original, which is in the museum. But it's how the original looked like. So it's a copy of the original in the museum that is in Istanbul, and that's the original that might have looked like this. We found actually a little piece of the mouth of the snake, so we know exactly how it looked like, and you can see the snake face in the museum of Istanbul as well. Archaeology. So remember, this thing has a double history. It was built by. It was originally made to celebrate.
The person.
Yes.
Won.
Yes. Who won the battle against the Persians centuries before? Athena is a goddess.
No.
Remember the Persian Wars, the Greeks, alliances between Spartan and Athenian, the Delos League, Delian League, which is Athens basically. Athens and Sparta, let's say, defeated the Persians for good. So to celebrate it, they built this thing that were displayed in Delphi. So originally, Delphi is the place where it's located. So you will have to remember that for the exam. This thing is from Delphi to celebrate the Battle of Plataea, won by the Greeks in 479. But this thing will be transferred by Constantine 700 years later to be placed in the center of the Hippodrome. You can see the Hippodrome in the middle with so many things, obelisks and many things, which are actually a collection of trophy, of memories related to glorious events. So this one, even though 700 years earlier, referred to a glorious battle, a glorious period that people want to be associated with, so they will have it in the middle of the Hippodrome to be seen as a remembrance of the victory of the Greeks against the Persians. Okay? So this is a continuation of history, a reuse of things that were built hundreds and hundreds of years before, back here, used by Constantine, that know histories and know the meaning of this thing. It's important. So it becomes an open museum, in the middle, so everybody can see it. So transfer from Delphi to Constantinople. Right? Serpent column, that's the name. Serpent column. Okay? Of course, the main iconic building of Constantinople that you must remember and you must recognize in a quarter of a second, it's, what's his name? And please spell it properly. Hagia Sophia. I won't tolerate any spelling mistake. Hagia Sophia. Hagia. That's it. Hagia Sophia. Okay? Don't be confused, please. That's Hagia Sophia today. It's not because you see minarets that it's a mosque. It used to be used as a mosque during the Ottoman Empire, but this is Hagia Sophia. This is the church of the church. Okay? And this is the original plan. Alright? So try to recognize, make the difference. This is the original Hagia Sophia as it was built in the 6th century. This is Hagia Sophia as today. Okay. Remember, his sponsor, the main builder of churches in that style, is Justinian first. Okay? That's him. That is the source of those things. If there is one characteristic you need to remember from Hagia Sophia, is what? What is the innovation here? What is really new, weird, and was never done before?
The dome.
The dome. Okay? Remember the dome. The dome structure, it's new. It's innovation. It's was not, really in existence before. Well, the Roman had a few attempts and succeeded somehow, but to this scale, at this size, never. And as a simple thing like this, never. So those became, in Hagia Sophia, became the canon of architecture for churches. So that's why it's called the Megale Ecclesia, the great church. It will become the symbol of the best, most impressive church ever built in the Christian world. Okay? And another thing that you must remember, I'm not asking a lot of names of people building things, but this one I'm asking you to remember. The architects, the makers, are Anthemius of Tralles. Tralles, where they're from. That's pretty common in Greece or in this world or in Byzantine time to associate the name of where you're from. So Anthemius of Tralles and Isidore of Miletus. Miletus in Latin, Miletos in Greek, doesn't matter. U or O. Miletus is a big city of the Anatolian coast. Remember? Didyma, Miletus, Ephesus, all those the coastal line of Anatolia, of Turkey, all those big cities, Greek cities. So the Colossal Dome Basilica, this is the main characteristic that you need to remember. I won't ask you too much about architecture from the Byzantine Empire. Try to remember this one. It's an important one, iconic one as well in Istanbul, which is now a mosque, but of course it was an important monastery. It's called the Pantocrator Monastery. Pantocrator means, actually it's referring to Christ Pantocrator. They're continuing, just in continuation with the Greek tradition of saying Athena, Victory. It's always the same logic. Christ something. So the Christians just are continuing the tradition with the naming. So Christ Pantocrator Monastery, which means Christ the powerful, all powerful. Pantocrator, that's what it means in Greek. So Christ the Almighty or the all powerful, and that's a monastery. Of also a very iconic, a very typical type of architecture for the Byzantine Empire, of the late Byzantine Empire. So much later than Hagia Sophia. At this time in the late Byzantine period, they give up on those huge construction. So the size starts, shrinking, as you might remember. And at 11th, 12th century, only small things are built. This one is actually big for the time, for the period, but always with the same kind of standards in terms of architecture and plan, with these little domes. Sometimes mini little domes. And this typical Greek plan, which is not the same as the Latin cross, remember? This is the Greek cross, very different from what's going on in the Latin world and in the Catholic world. For Athens, there is not much going on during the Byzantine Empire. The powerful, important cities of the Byzantine Empire are nowadays Turkey. Athens is a minor place now. Athens degraded a lot, especially in the late Byzantine Empire, and that's one of the iconic buildings that you I hope recognize. What is it?
The tower.
Not the style. What is this building? What is its name? The Parthenon. This is the Parthenon, the most iconic building of Athens. On the Acropolis. Acropolis, remember the Propylaea, Erechtheion, Parthenon. The Parthenon is now what?
The church.
A church. Why do you see it's a church?
Because they erect all those things.
They broke all they destroyed all the gods' representation.
And then
all the genitals.
build a church in
They build a church inside, and how can you recognize the church?
the square. Long.
From outside. I mean, inside they modify the plan, but what from outside? There's two elements here that are immediately pointing you. Yeah. There's a cross with there's the bell, how do you call this in English? The bell tower, the tower tower, and the apse, where the altar is, the back of the church. Okay, so you see, remember the round. Every time you see on the architecture, on the plan, when you look at an archaeological site, and look at the building, and the end of the back of the building has a round thing like this, an apse. You're in a church. 99% of the time you're in a church. If you're not lucky, you might be actually something else, but most of the time there is no questioning. If you have a rectangular building with the bottom with a half circle, you're in a church. And you can see it in the plan, if it's a ruin, or you can see it if it's still standing. Like here, you can see the apse. It's a church. So now it's a church, it's a Parthenon as a church. It has a name. You can try to remember it, but it's not, it's not necessary to remember. You can call it the Parthenon as a church. Okay? Try to remember, it used to be dedicated to Athena, which is supposed to be a virgin. As I mentioned before, in the Christian religion, there is a tradition of absorbing everything, making it feel easy and in continuity. So it will become the church dedicated to Virgin Mary. So it's convenient, there is continuity with the past. We switch from the Virgin Athena to the Virgin Mary. So the switch is pretty easy actually. Not much different. Yeah? Okay, I won't ask you anything about the five stone, about those minor things. This one is a major important one, the Rotunda of Galerius in Thessaloniki. This is a major important building. It's one of the rare buildings with the Pantheon in Rome, of this type of architecture, with a dome, with this massive construction. There is the one of Pantheon in Rome, the one here in Thessaloniki, and one in Constantinople, which is actually gone and absorbed by a palace. So we just have the base, as you might remember, will become now a cistern, where you store the water. So it's gone, it disappeared. You can see only the foundation and the base of it. So the one that are preserved are the one in Rome, the Pantheon, and the one in Thessaloniki called the Rotunda of Galerius. Remember the name, Rotunda of Galerius, makes it easy to understand who built it. Galerius, one of the four tetrarchs. Remember the division of power of the four different at the beginning of at the end of the Roman Empire, let's say, or the beginning of the Byzantine world. So we're here in transition. We're still in the Roman period, transitioning to the Byzantine period. We are at the very end of the Roman Empire. But I put it here because the Rotunda existence will be important as a church during the Byzantine Empire. So when I'm asking you the location, it's easy, Thessaloniki, but periods, Roman/Byzantine. Roman as a temple dedicated to Zeus, or Kabiri, but it's probably Zeus, is dedicated to main gods, pagan gods, Greek gods, and then short after will become a church, a major church, basilica of the Byzantine Empire. And what you can see inside nowadays are the mosaics, typical of the Byzantine Empire. So the decorations that are still visible are not related to the temple, to the Rotunda as a temple, as a pagan temple, but as a church. So remember that when it's turned into a church during Theodosius, so see short after it was built. It was built as a pagan temple, which should become this church. Most of the representations in the mosaics, try to remember what the mosaic represents are archangels, angels, the famous person with the wings, which are close to Christ, which is on top. But what you can see all around, in and most of the people around, are martyrium. People that have been martyrized, that have been persecuted before Christianity becomes official in the Roman Empire. Martyrs were symbolic in the rise of Christianity, that the religion was justified because you were a martyr, you were persecuted, so they were celebrated. So the people that are represented here are martyrs of the Roman Empire. Martyrized, persecuted, killed, wounded, chased. You understand? Okay? And they are named. Here is Leon, Leonthos. They're identified. This is this persona. This is important for that and that reason. So remember, those mosaics represent Christ, our angels, and martyr. Another iconic building of Thessaloniki, just next to it, next to the rotunda, is the Arch of Galerius. Again, the name gives you who built it, Galerius. Is also a celebration. Its function is celebration of a victory against the Persians. Again. They're always in the background. We're far from the classic period. The Persians still exist, the languages still exist. Empire of Persia goes up and down, but back on tracks. Galerius defeated the Persian, celebrated into the arch. The arch looked like this at the time. Nowadays, it's what is left of it, and it's called Camera nowadays. Its name is Camera, but remember, you can call it only Arch of Galerius if it's okay. And the complex might have looked like this at the time: the Rotunda, the Arch of Galerius, and Via Egnatia. Remember Via Egnatia, the one that connects Byzantium, Constantinople, with Rome. The main road of northern Greece. Okay, the Palace of Galerius, Hippodrome. It's okay. You don't have to remember everything. Remember that. It will help you to identify the church you're in and the type of plan, type of standard they use to build the church. Until the Great Schism, until the 11th century, there is no huge difference, even though Hagia Sophia, as you remember, built in the 5th century, 6th century, is on the Greek cross model. There is still mixture until the Great Schism. After that, there is no more mixing. It's definitely the Greek cross on the eastern part of Europe and the Latin cross on the western part. So please try to remember. Of course, in the Western world, in Western Europe, we will see only that, apart from the areas where the Byzantine Empire re-expanded, as I mentioned before, Venezia, Ravenna. So if you go to St. Mark Basilica in Venezia, you will see a church which is typically built in a Greek cross on a Byzantine style, because it was part of the Byzantine Empire when it was built. Otherwise, the rest of Western Europe will always have this standard. Okay? So we call it Greek cross or Latin cross as a simplification for the future. Remember that, recognize it. Please try to remember this. That will help you to also decode and understand the inside of the church. So you won't be too lost if you're not a Christian if you get into the church. I'm not asking you to remember everything, but just a few terms that are key to understand what is what. The dome, I hope you remember what's a dome. Remember the dome. I'm not even asking you to recognize Christ, but Christ is most of the time in the middle, so there's no ambiguity normally. Christ is just standing in the middle. And around, angels, archangels. That's typical in an Orthodox church. So this is the plan of an Orthodox church. In the middle, expect that. Christ on the dome and the archangels. Now, you enter from here. You enter from here. And you center, the narthex. The term is a standard term. Narthex can be more or less, more or less big. Let's say sometimes it's very small. It's just a little, it's just feng shui. It's just like you enter something, but before entering the really more sacred place, there is an in between. So narthex. The place of the ceremony, the mass, where people come to participate into the mass and to participate into the baptism, to all the ceremonies connected to the people, is the nave, which is also the term in Latin, like a boat. The place, it's the main place of the ceremonies and whatever is going on. But there is a big difference here with the Latin cross and the Latin churches and the Catholics, is that we have the templum, which is this thing that separates the narthex from the sanctuary, where the altar is located. And that's a big difference with Catholics, because you don't have the templum, also called iconostasis, where you can see the icons presented here. Remember, I show you always Christ and the Virgin Mary on the center right, center left. And the more you go to the side, the more you come to the local saints. So always Christ and Mary, and the more you go to this area, the more you get to local saints or angels and minor. You go to the top importance to minor importance. Always the same logic with the templum or iconostasis. You can call it both templum or iconostasis. Templum was the old name. Iconostasis is the current name used. If you go to a church, people will tell you, oh, that's an iconostasis. And the cult, the most sacred things done by the Pope, the priest, are done in secret. So you do not see what's going on with the altar, and the ritual is done by the priest behind the temple. While for the Catholics, this is gone, so the ritual is done in front of the people. Okay? Make sense? So remember, narthex, nave, sanctuary, templon, iconostasis, dome. Those easy points to get. You know? If you give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you get 5 points. You know, it's like an extra bonus thing. Yeah? It's easy to get. Remember, I'm not asking you to remember a lot of Byzantine architecture, and especially late one. Try to remember this one. Remember this one? It's an iconic one in Athens called Panagia Kapnikarea. Panagia Kapnikarea, Saint Kapnikarea, it's a name. So it's an Orthodox church from late Byzantine period. Try to look at it. It's tiny, it's shrinked, it's always a dome model, but super small, super tiny, super dark, but still the cross, the Greek cross, that model. Still the same standards, Christ in the middle of the dome, the archangels, the same, but small, tiny. Okay? Don't have to remember much apart from the period, the time, and identify it, and it's the Church of Panagia and it's an Orthodox church. The schism happened already, you know? Remember? Well, actually, it's at the time of the schism, at the period of the schism, the Great Schism. So now we can say it's an Orthodox church. This type of church won't be built in the West. And the ritual now are different from the West. Okay? Western Europe. For ceramic, I'm only asking you to remember one plate. Just remember, well, this is a plate, of course, this is late Byzantine. And the style, the style of the technique of construction is, of making is glazed. It's glazed ware. The glaze is this yellowish green horrible thing that looks really bad, but very nice to the touch. You know, it's kind of glassy, so it's very. You avoid the plate to be porous, so it's very soft, very nice on the lips, or it's very pleasant to use, but not artistically speaking very beautiful. But this is typical Byzantine. Remember also what's an icon. This is typical of the Byzantine period. They are everywhere and they are still in use. in Western Europe and in Eastern Europe, being Slavic or Greek, those icons are still used, are still functional, are still everywhere. So remember, what is it? It's from the Byzantine period. The representation is always Christ, the function is a symbolic one, and icons are supposed to have powers. So the object itself is considered as an object of cult, which is one of the reasons also of the schism. The Catholics, especially Protestants much later, will reject the cult of the icons, which are considered a pagan ritual. So if you will see all the ladies going to the church in Greece or wherever Orthodox world, they will go and kiss the icon. Or touch it, kiss it, there is a lot of different types of rituals. But there is what we consider a cult of the icon. And that will be rejected by other Christians. They consider that a pagan tradition. Okay, finish with the Byzantine. Oh my God, okay, I have to hurry up. With the Ottoman, there is not much that I want you to remember apart from. Remember where they're from? Turks are. Where they're from? No. Central Asia, yes. Nowadays, Mongolia, Kazakhstan. Okay? So remember that. Do they speak Indo-European languages? Do they speak Indo-European languages? Like the Greeks, the German, the French, the Polish? No. Turkic. Okay? Turkic languages, Central Asia, and they progressively move towards Middle East, toward Far East, Middle East, Near East, until they reach Anatolia. They established the Seljuk, and during the establishment of the Seljuk Turks in those areas, they will dominate as the minority Arabs, Persians, and Kurdish. And that's the process, the slow but sure process of Islamization. So they will become Muslim. The process of change probably will start earlier, but it will be a slow process of Islamization during that period, in contact with Arabs, Persian, and Kurdish, which have been Islamized before. Again, beginning of Islam. Which century? Someone knew it last time. Someone said the right thing.
What kind of questions?
When Islam appeared. Which century? No.
I forgot.
7. Sorry. No, I was thinking of river 6th century. Yeah. 6th century AD. Yeah. So of course, Islamization will start on the Arabic Peninsula. So of course, when they get in contact with those areas mean that they're Muslim now. With already a schism within it, Shia, Sunni. Shia for the Persians, Sunni for the rest, Arabs and Kurdish. Okay? And the Turks will adopt which one? Shia or Sunni Islam? Sunni. Sunni, and then it will spread into many different forms, including weird cult like the dervish and the trance processes and ceremonies, which are probably related to all pagans and things, which have been included into it. So there's many branches of Islam in the Turkish world which are connected to all the things. Okay, but it's dominantly Sunni with different branches. Okay. Remember that the Turkish, compared to many other empires, even though they were a minority, never got absorbed by the majority, linguistically, culturally, religiously. So, the Turkish dominate areas, notably Anatolia, which was Greek-speaking, mostly, with a few Anatolian languages also that remain, but Greek-speaking, Greek Orthodox, or Orthodox Christian, mostly, And despite that, they slowly converted, changed most of the population they dominated in speaking Turk and switching to Islam. Okay? So it was a slow process, but it happened. But despite that process, there was also a lot of, like I mentioned before, crypto-Jew, crypto-Christian, people who pretend they are Muslim, but will maintain traditions of the previous religion. So this is a classic in the Turkish world, with a lot of donmen and laramans. Okay, laramans, crypto-Christian, donmen, crypto-Jew, which are still things people discuss. It's still a thing in Turkey nowadays. You know, people will tell you, oh, you're donmen. You're not a real Muslim. You're a donmen. You're a crypto-Jew. You're a Jew that becomes pretending you're Muslim. You're not real. In terms of organization, remember that there is religious tolerance within the Ottoman Empire, much more than the Romans, for example, much more than in many empires that we knew before through the history we saw concerning Greece, but with different organization, notably the Dhimmi system that allow you to be whatever you want as soon as you don't dominate in a public space. So if you're Christian, don't ride a horse because you'll be higher than me. So you can be Jew, Christian, whatever you want as soon as you're not higher than me as a Muslim. So if you build a church, it has to be lower than the mosque. If you have, no, you cannot ride a horse, you cannot do anything higher than a Muslim. So you can exist, but your status is lower, of course. And you pay taxes to it also, more taxes than Muslim. So also there is an ambiguity here, there is tolerance, but you're also somehow pushed to convert. Because if you want to be equal or even rise in society, in the Ottoman Empire, you will have to convert at one point, and your family. So it's a tolerance, but at the same time it's a push towards Islamization. So, you know, it's tolerance and yes and no. Remember as well the existence of the Janissaries, which is this typical example of the opposite of tolerance in the sense that they were recruiting young Catholics and young, mostly Orthodox Christians, coming from the millets, which is also an important structure of the Ottoman Empire. Millets are the division by religion of the Ottoman Empire. So the millets, the Muslim millets, the Christian millets, the Armenian Christian millets, the Catholic millets, and the Rum. Rum, the Orthodox. Rum, Roman. Remember? Rum, Roman, Orthodox. All connected to the previous world. Byzantine, they were calling them the Romans. So to facilitate the conversion, the Janissaries was a recruitment of young Christians of the empire to come be trained in Istanbul to become the elite of the military of the empire. But in the process, of course, you had to convert. So it was a very tricky, not really tolerant in this case, a process of conversion that we take the boys of your family, we give them a chance to become top in the elite of Ottoman society, they will convert, and as a result, of course, when they come back and marry, they have to marry with a Muslim, and if they don't, if they marry Christian, the kids will be Muslim. So, of course, you can imagine the spread, naturally. So, and it worked extremely well in Albania, in Crete, in Bulgaria, where after a few generations, you know, the entire area become Muslim. Sometimes Laramans, sometimes crypto-Christian, which means they were both going to the mosque on a Friday, but at the same time doing the Christian ceremonies at home. Sometimes both, like as I mentioned before, but a lot of Islamization of some areas, especially you see this green area here. Here the Janissary system worked very well. Crete, Albania, Bosnia, Bulgaria, and also Greece to a certain extent. Okay? Remember the Parthenon. You have to recognize the difference. This is not a church anymore. You have a minaret on top immediately you can see the shape of it. This is not a bell for Christians. There is no cross here. This is a minaret. This is a mosque. So it's still the Parthenon as a mosque. Easy. Period Ottoman. Building name Parthenon as a mosque. Function Muslim cult. That's it. Not much else to remember. We won't go into details. Remember this is still the Parthenon, but remember the event. Remember when and why. That's all I want you to remember. It's important. 1687, Venetian bombardment. So Venezia, which is a naval power at the time, attacked the Ottomans. Boom, boom. Okay, the Parthenon explode, and the mosque, what used to be a mosque, now is just a ruin. Okay? Remember the date and what happened, the explosion. Remember that as well as an important event, which is another destruction of continuation of the destruction of the Parthenon, made by Lord Elgin. Here, that stole what was left of the marbles, the metopes, the frieze, everything that went to the British Museum. Remember, the event is the removal of the marble of the Parthenon, 1801, by Lord Elgin. Extremely important. You know, people still talk about it in Greece. You know, it's still a thing of everyday life. It's a debate and it's on the news constantly because it's a fight with the British Museum that is on and on and on. I would like you to remember this very simply. This is just a house of the Ottoman Empire, but it's typical and you need to remember it because you will see a lot of those in Greece and in Bulgaria and in Turkey. Remember those three things here. What is a hammam? A bath, Turkish bath, Ottoman bath, called hammam in Turk. But we use the term hammam in English or in French or in languages. Hammam, Turkish bath. Typical, with these glasses opening, very beautiful, very pleasant. You might experience it as well. There is of course men and women. This is a typical of the Ottoman Empire. Remember this one, which is a very interesting one, is a typical mix of different influences. This is three monuments, three periods: Venetian, Ottoman, modern. Church, Catholic Church, Muslim mosque, Orthodox Church. Okay, three different buildings, and you can see the different influences. It is very Italian in the style. You can see the shape, the typical shape of the dome of the mosque, but with the cross, and is used as the Orthodox Church. So this is a typical monument of mix of history that you can see in Greece. This is in Crete, in Heraklion, capital of Crete, Heraklion, which used to be Knossos, capital of the Minoans. Okay, trying to connect the dots. Huh? That's a typical, couldn't be more typical of the standard basic mosque of the empire. One dome, a square shape, and one minaret. Everywhere in the empire. You see bigger than those, but everywhere there is a mosque, normally that's the typical shape. The minaret, the dome, the square shape. This is the Fethiye Mosque, built in 15th century in Ioannina. Ioannina in Epirus, in eastern Greece. It's one of the rare still standing. The minarets are being destroyed and more in Greece, but this one is still there, standing. So remember this one, we'll see it. Again, that's the one from Istanbul, the standard one, typical, with the porch in front, the square shape, the dome in the middle, with the hexagon and the minaret. Standard architecture you will recognize. Remember this one, the blue mosque, that looks like a lot like another building. Hagia Sophia, and Hagia Sophia is right here. You know, it's facing Hagia Sophia. It's the blue mosque, also called I forgot. It has another name from the Pasha that ordered its construction. It doesn't matter. If you remember Blue Mosque, it's okay. Blue Mosque is 1616, so a bit more than 1,000 years later after the construction of Hagia Sophia. But it looks like a lot. This is the interior. This is the Blue Mosque. This is Istanbul, Constantinople. Okay? Or Byzantium. I'm not even asking you anything about the ceramic. no need. And the last thing, and we'll finish as soon as possible. There's not much I'm not going to ask you about the modern Greece, but just a few things. Notably, who helped the Greek liberation? Russian, France, French, and British. The Greek revolution won't have happened without their help. So remember those three allies. Bubulina, who is a well-known Greek, she became a commander actually of the Russian army. She was Greek. She's a very important persona. You will see statues everywhere in Greece. There is names of her, Bubulina, you will hear Bubulina constantly. Lord Byron fought as well as the British fought for with the Greek Revolution to slowly liberate the future of what will become the new state of Greece. Remember, it started from very south of the Peloponnesos, and it will slowly progress toward north. With the establishment of the first capital, remember that? First capital of Greece, 1829, is not Athens, is Nafplion. It's a port, it's a fortified port, it's a small city, but it's already bigger than Athens, which is a village at the time. Okay, so the first capital is Nafplion. Okay, I won't ask you much here. Remember that. Remember this concept. Remember the concept, the term megali idea, the big idea. You know, that's Greek, megali. You know, you probably know the term megalomaniac. Megalo means big, huge, enormous. Megalomaniac, you know, obsessed with yourself. Megalomaniac. If you're megalomaniac, you're obsessed with yourself. So, you know, you have a big idea about yourself. You know, you think like, oh my God, you're so great. You're megalomaniac. Trump is a good example. Megalomaniac. So, megalo, big idea. Megalo, big idea, and irredentism. It's a concept meaning that you dream of, and you try to impose the idea that what was real in the past should be reapplied today. So the irredentism idea means that Venizelos wanted to go back to the Byzantine Empire borders. He had an obsession of going back to Byzantine style borders on the Eastern Europe borders, not towards Italy, towards Anatolia. He wanted to get back Anatolia back into the Greek world, up to Pontus, at the very end of Turkey nowadays. So the ambition was to push as deep as possible in Anatolia. French, Russian, British say, you're alone. Go ahead, we're not helping this. Even though all the coasts of Turkey were Greek, populated, Greek-speaking, Greek culture, Christians, including Constantinople, all the coasts up to Russia were Greek, true. So it was justified, yes. But inland, absolutely not. But they pushed anyway, pushed toward Ankara. They were defeated, and then, as a result, they were defeated by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, and as a result, they lost everything, which means instead of keeping the Greek territories, which are Smyrna, Izmir nowadays, or Eastern Croatia, they lost all the areas populated by Greek to Turkey, to the new now Republic of Turkey established by Atatürk. So they were kicked out from Anatolia. Instead of keeping what they had, and the territories actually occupied by Greek, living as Greek and Christian on the coast, they lost everything and were expelled from Anatolia, which resulted in massive amount of Greek moving towards nowadays Greece, and the same for the other side. The Greek expelled every single Muslim and Turks towards Turkey. Millions of people moving on both sides. Refugees, both sides. With, as I mentioned before, with the complexity of war sometimes. No? Crete, as I mentioned, Greek, Muslim. So, are you Turkish or are you Greek? Greek said that you're Muslim, so then the Turkish, no, you're Greek, so you're not Turkish. So the Cretan ended up here, Tripoli. No, remember? And you have refugees communities like this here and there, but it doesn't make sense. It's just like, why are you here? Just because they were pushed here, pushed there, and nobody wanted them. So you have those weird things about here and there, which is quite interesting, dramatic most of the time. And same with the Armenians, because the Turkish took the opportunity when they won the battle and get a new traité, the Treaty of Sèvres, signed in France, and later Traité de Lausanne, that's the important one. The Lausanne established the new borders of what is now Turkey, and then Traité de Lausanne, Treaty of Lausanne, in Switzerland, by the way, they extended the borders within what was Armenia. So what you can see here, this big piece of pink was Armenia, populated by Armenians, speaking Armenians, Christian Armenians, and they took the opportunity to kill them all. So we're talking about 1.5 million Armenians killed during the process to actually take over these territories. So these territories were taken over from the Armenians who got refuge. The one that survived got refuge in Armenia nowadays and the north of Syria, which explains why if you go to Syria nowadays, the north is mostly Christian Armenians. For the Greeks, they just got expelled, so they disappeared. Smyrna, which was a typical Greek city, actually the most and biggest Greek city of the time, was burned to the ground, rebuilt, and called Izmir. So if you go to Izmir, you won't see much of what Smyrna was. But a century ago, it was actually the capital of culture of the Greek world. Thessaloniki was a Jewish city. Athens was a village. The biggest Greek city was Smyrna, and this Smyrna disappeared. That's the that's the genocide of the Armenians by the Turks. And if you need to remember something also about the Greek territory at the time, Thessaloniki, in comparison to Smyrna, was a Jewish city since the 15th century. Populated by who? Jewish population from Spain. Remember? Inquisition, movement of population, Jewish speaking what language? Spanish, yes, but the Spanish mixed with Arabic and Hebrew, and it has a specific name. Where is it? Here. Should have put it in red. Ladino. If you put Spanish, I can accept it, but try to remember it's called Ladino. Ladino is the Jewish, Spanish, Hebrew, Arabic language used in Thessaloniki. So people in Thessaloniki, until very recently, until the Second World War, since the 15th century, Thessaloniki was a Jewish city speaking Ladino. Okay? Under the Ottoman Empire, there was also a lot of conversion to Islam, for the reason we mentioned before, but still, dogma. So weird, Muslim. See the typical Yeni Mosque, try to remember this one, Yeni Mosque, built in 1902. It looks like, it's a mosque, but actually looks like a synagogue. It's built on the shape and standards of a synagogue, but with a minaret and with a dome, but it's actually a typical synagogue. And people here are crypto-Jew, they're dogmen. They're Jew converted to Islam. We did that for the reason of what we mentioned before, mostly because of tax, because of many reasons, or for status. But so you can still see the Yeni Mosque in Thessaloniki, which is a synagogue. Okay. In terms of architecture, I want you to remember a few iconic buildings of Athens, which are typical of the neoclassic architecture. You need to understand the difference between what is a real classical Hellenistic whatever temple with a modern one. You know? I don't want you to be in Athens and look at me and say, oh, a Doric temple from the classic time. No, this is the National Library. So try to look at the characteristic, the stairs, the Doric order, the pediment. But this is modern. This is built by Theophil Hansen, German, 1887. Okay, remember that. You really need to make the distinction and look and realize like, oh, but there is glasses and there is weird things. This is modern. This is the National Library. This is neoclassic. This one, same. This is Ionic. This is with a statue. There's many things that, of course, disappeared from the classical time. This is just a fantasy, something inspired by the classical period, done by the same architect, Théophile Hansen again. 1859, it's called the Academy. All these things are related to education, academy, library, and many others, which I'm not asking you to remember all of them, but the most iconic one are the National Library and the Academy. The Parliament House that you will see in the news all the time, so if you look at the news and once in a while you hear about Greece, what you will see always is the Parliament in the background. The protest, everything that happened in Greece, it's always in front of the Parliament. Remember, the Parliament is a modern building on the Doric order, neoclassic, built originally as the residence of the king, Otto, German king, which explains also why there was so many German architects at the time, and became later the Parliament. Okay, when the monarchy was abandoned, back to a republic, and we have now a Parliament. Okay, I think that's more or less everything I want you to remember. Just a general question, try to remember one thing about Greece. It is definitely rather a conservative country, nation, which is monolithically Christian Orthodox. Monolithically, you understand, like massively, the hyper majority. Most people define themselves, when you ask them like how do you define themselves, they say, I'm Greek because I am Greek Orthodox, I speak Greek, I'm white, that's what details, but yes, most of the time they also define themselves like this, and it's a very patriarchal society, men domination. They define themselves, connecting themselves to antiquity, Byzantine Empire as well. Both are important in the definition of the identity of what is Greek. And this is, I would say, the dominant discourses, the dominant things you see in the media, the dominant things you're going to face when you're in Greece. But don't forget, there is also another Greece, which is not religious, especially the youth, especially people less than 40 years old, I would say, will define themselves lightly Orthodox or not Orthodox at all. They're multilingual, they speak a lot of languages, so they don't see Greek as an obligation to be Greek. And there is more and more cosmopolitan Greece, many cities, many languages now you can hear, which is a new thing. Less and less patriarchal, female are more and more important in Greek society, again. And whiteness is not anymore less and less a definition of Greekness. That's new also. So you have the two tendencies. So you need to remember how Greece is defining itself. Generally, you might get this kind of answers, but don't forget there is changes in the youth, especially, which do not recognize this necessarily as Greek. But I'm talking about the last 20 years. Until recently, it was massively like this. It's changing. Okay, so keep in mind the two things: the dominant tendencies, let's say, and the new tendencies towards a more cosmopolitan, open, And of course, as I said, they speak many languages. They are well educated, and most of the youth does not define themselves based on antiquity or Byzantine, but most of them define themselves as European. So many young people will tell, even though the crisis might change a bit, but many define themselves as first as European. Okay, that's just for the fun of it. No exam question about this, but those are internal stereotypes, which of course are carrying some sort of truth as well. But there is not only stereotypes here, there is some real things about vocabulary. But if there is one thing you remember, when I'm talking about a conservative society, yes, most of Greece is extremely conservative, especially in the north. So when we are in the north, you are surrounded by a very traditional, conservative society. Very patriarchal, very a bit rigid on certain things. Okay. As soon as you get into those zones, especially Athens and of course Thessaloniki, which is called here the neutral zone of electoral promises, those areas are much more open on many different things. The rest is quite conservative. No guns. New South Texas is a joke, but it's true. South of Peloponnesus in Crete, people have guns, but in the rest of Greece. And you have a lot of things interesting here that actually are true. There's difference in naming things, but it's actually also based on the accent. There is a northern way of speaking and a southern way of speaking. If you order a cappuccino, you order a cappuccino freddo in the south, you order a frappe au lait in the north, etc., etc. It's funny, but actually it's quite accurate, in the differences of Greek society today. Winter is coming. What is winter? It's true. The south has no winter, or 2 days of winter. It's like fluffy winter that's barely recognized. The north has a proper winter, cold and icy and snowy. So you see all those things here are quite funny, but actually are pretty accurate. For tourism, I think it's a bit exaggerated when you see Chinese tourists dominantly here. I will put them in Santorini. Apart from Santorini, you won't see much Chinese tourists. In Athens, for 1 day, they pass through, take the boat, go to Santorini, and that's it. Rest is mostly Western tourists, Western European tourists. That's true. It's a colony of Germany and Russia. British a lot here, and North Balkan tourists. True. So mostly in summer you will face with Bulgarians, Serbians, Russians, so different type of people, of course, from different places. So we change, of course, a bit the dynamics. So those are funny things, but they're pretty accurate. I think that's everything I want you to remember. It's a lot, huh? Yeah, we covered the entire history of Greece, so don't expect a light thing. You got everything from the exam. There is no surprises. Everything you read will be at the exam. If it's text, it will be a question. If it's a picture, it will be as a picture. Questions are, again, multiple choice question. So you got the answer, you just have to circle the answer. 1, 2, or 3. All of them, one of them, two of them. That's it. It's not difficult, it just is a lot. So if you come prepared, you make it. If you start to think and think again, you won't make it. Okay? So you better be prepared and know your answers. Otherwise, if you need to think for 10 minutes and every question, you screw. You have to be like tack, 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 tack. 40 questions, 60 pictures. Okay? On paper, next week, 3 hours. 3 hours. Start at 9:10, finish at 12:10. If you arrive at 10, you lost an hour.
Okay.
I'm not going until 1. Okay? 9:10, 12:10. Okay? Alright? If you have any questions,